If you're telling me you're authentic, I know that you're not. That's the first place I go. I go, oh, okay, great. So we're both full of crap. Then we're back to imposter syndrome again.
Mental blocks are sabotaging your business right now, and you don't even know it. Dr. Travis Fox, the mindscape architect, has spent 3 decades showing entrepreneurs how to spot the self sabotage and limiting beliefs that kill their growth. Dr. Fox figured out something game changing. You have 102 different personas in your head making business decisions. Most entrepreneurial mental blocks come from listening to the wrong persona at the wrong time. You're not failing because of the market. You're failing because parts of your mind are working against you. Hello, Dr. Travis. Thank you so much for joining the podcast.
Thanks for being here. It's, one of the things that when people do those intros, I always go, are they talking about me? And we all have this voice in our head, right, that says, I haven't even accomplished half of what I said I would do. So when I listen to those things, I go, wow, thank you for reminding me of my journey. So thanks for letting me be the show. And thanks for that quick reminder.
Honestly, your journey from psychology to entrepreneurship really has been remarkable. And I know when you
Thank
hear
you.
other people talk about it, yeah, it sounds, oh, was that me?
Right.
But my thing is psychology, from being a
hmm
clinical practitioner to being the mindscape architect. How did that come about?
I don't like rules. I like actually helping people. And I'm not saying the rules aren't, there are some social rules that we all subscribe to. However, one of the things that I got frustrated with was the limitation of what we could actually do. One of the things that I think we can all mutually agree, no matter what faith, philosophy, or culture you come from, however you gender, identify, it doesn't matter. From this perspective, the reality check is we're a transformative creature. End of discussion. Now, you can call that a spiritual being having a human experience. You can call that an advanced species that has evolved over billions of years. Whatever your philosophy is, I'm not here to tell you what to believe, but we can all mutually agree that transformative. The original concept of any kind of philosophical therapeutic modality was the ability to transform and get out of our own way, to get proverbially unstuck, for lack of definition. And unfortunately, there's a lot of rules that go along with that and a lot of structure. For example, one of the things that's always frustrated me or did frustrate me back in the day was we get into that space and you're in the middle of something, you're right in a moment where you're actually starting to realize and recall who you are. Maybe it's a traumatic experience or it's an event that you're seeking to break through. And our time's up and I'll see you next week. Then you're left hanging. And I'm left hanging because then I'm like, what happened? What'd she do? What did she process? What's the next question? A week going by, if you're going one time a week, if you're going 2 times, obviously it's shorter, but week going by, a bazillion things happened between that experience and the next time we were to engage. The downside of that is we're constricted by time sequences. Well, I've got a roster. I've got to go pay next. Nowadays, I'd actually, if I have to sit there and be with someone, and I don't have to do it, but if I choose to sit with someone for 90 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 hours because they process, great, let's do it. But also, too, I had to stake out one of my mentor and master when he trained me was always about the transformation is key. That is the most paramount thing that you do. And obviously, people talk about the oaths that they take and yada, yada. My response is I learn as much working with people as much as they learn from me. And I think that's an inherently lost art. We'll say it, that it happens, but we don't really walk it. And then we had this weird era, if you recall, and this is towards the early 2000s, where coach was the most popular word. And in my humble opinion, it's gotten overused and overdone at this stage because everybody's a coach about something. In fact, if you look at that from a certain point of view, that's true. Everybody can coach somebody else about some other thing about how they arrive here on the planet. But coaching also has other elements and arts. There's an intuitive aspect to it. There's an art to it. There is a science to it. There's a structure at times. And then sometimes you just have to sit there and be quiet and allow the person to process. All of these things conflict, in my humble opinion, with true transformation when you're in a structured environment. When you're in an environment like this, like you and I were just talking and having a conversation, it allows us to move. And then that's how truly dual path dynamics was born. I got into the realization that we were coming out of, and more so now than back when I started 30 years ago, what's called the OR era. And that's OR, the word. And we've been really in that space for about the last 500 years as a species. Everything has been we live in a dualistic world, but we've dualistically separated it and said it's light or it's dark. It's tall or it's short. It's left or it's right. So we're always in the space of having to choose, which then puts us in this really paralytic state of, well, what's the right path? Which one do I choose? There's so many different directions. And we find ourselves in a thing called the infinite loop, playing it over and over and over and over again, and almost to neurosis. We're really moving into an era called the and era. And we're seeing this transformation really pass over the last 5 years, and it's continuing to happen now, and it's accelerating. And some of that times it can be turbulent, because it is a true dynamic shift in human psychology, which is now it's light and dark, tall and short, left and right. They're both happening simultaneously and concurrently. And if we go back in time, the true purpose of our journey here, regardless of theology, philosophy, or culture, is to recall who we were before we came into this space, commonly called Earth or planet Earth. Remembering that in order for you to go on to an afterlife, and let's put it in this context, if you're going to an afterlife, whatever your philosophy is, it doesn't matter, that must preclude that you had a pre-life, which means you came from somewhere, arrived in this state that you and I would call human, and then you leave it on this thing called transition of death and to go to your afterlife, whether that's a Christian philosophy, a Buddhist philosophy, Islamic philosophy, a Jewish philosophy, it doesn't matter, whatever you believe, but that must preclude. So therefore, if those two things must exist, it also must exist that the two things are happening simultaneously, and the integration and of those now creates the recollection, because we're never leaving half of us behind. In the Or era, we had to leave half of us behind, which further validated we're a transformative creature, because only a transformative creature can cut itself in half and forget itself.
Okay, that is a lot to unpack, but I
Yeah.
love it. As we go from the or to the and era,
hmm hmm
how does that inform some of our self-imposed mental blocks and how that shapes our mental landscapes? Because we,
Yeah,
one
great
thing that
question.
one thing that I hear over and over is imposter syndrome. Everybody has imposter syndrome, and I don't want to say that it's been overused,
Oh, it has.
but
I'll say it. I'll
well,
say it for you.
okay,
I'll let
well
me be
then,
the guy that says it, and you stay in the beautiful hostess position. It's
yeah.
true.
So okay, so if you can just help us with that.
Sure, we're all imposters. We're done.
Okay. So Mel Robbins said something to me that was really not to me personally, but she said something that was really transformative. She was having a conversation with her daughter, and her daughter
Mhm.
had something that was coming up, and she was like, "Mom, I feel like an imposter." And she's like, "You're not an imposter. You're a beginner. If this is your first time doing something and you're presenting this to the world, you're presenting it as a beginner and not an imposter."
Okay, that's called a great reframe. Obviously, who Mel Robbins is related to. Obviously, I'm an NLP master trainer myself and have been for 25 years. But the thing, sidebar, NLP, in my humble opinion, was never meant as a behavior modifier. It was a behavior identifier, and then allowed him to see the deeper dramatic or architectural sequences. So what she said, I would agree, is accurate. It's a beautiful reframe of how am I looking at it from a point of view. Now, my response is we're all imposters because we're all walking around acting like we got our stuff together. Ha ha. Let's quote the great Alan Watts. The great Alan Watts said, hey, we're all marching straight toward death, just like a bullet in a freight train, going as fast as we can, and there's not a damn thing we can do about it. But we walk around in every way possible in this self-imposed, self-hypnotic state to distract ourselves from this inevitable truth that, in some ways and often, scares us to death, puns intended. So we'll run around, create all this drama and trauma because it is a beautiful way to distract ourselves from this inevitability of timeout. If we all know, and you don't act like you don't, that time is your most valuable asset and commodity, although it is not seemingly tangible, it is clearly affected in the tangible, meaning how we spend it, what we experience, who we talk with, the relationships we have, the experiences that we go through, the hero's journey arc, etc., etc., etc. However, how many of us really own the truth of, well, wait a minute? And here's a question that will kind of cement this home for all of your listeners and viewers. If you only had 30 days left to live on this planet and you knew absolutely with a certainty that you were not coming back and there was no remedy to save that modality that you were leaving, would you be doing anything in your life currently that you're currently doing right now? The answer undoubtedly is going to be no in some aspect or another. You'll say, no, I wouldn't do this, or no, I wouldn't be working this hard, or no, I wouldn't be focused on just paying the bills. I'd spend more time with my family. Those are all key indicator clues that you are under a self-imposed, self-hypnotic delusion that time is, well, is infinite. And it is in a grander scale, but in our human form, it's not. And we have evidence of, oh, I don't know, about 14 bazillion people who've been on the planet and not one has survived, ever. No one gets off this planet alive. So we come from a space of delusion, which starts then to creep into every other aspect of our life, where we start to act like, I know exactly what I'm doing. Well, who's I in that sentence exactly? Because the truth is we're all personas. And there's a lot of personas. In fact, if you go to mysticpersonas.com, you'll start to explore that there's about 102 of them running around inside of you. Now, the question is, where are they? Are they in the path of insights? Are they in the path of whispers? Is it in the oracle realm or is it in the shadow realm? And there are methodologies and pathways and blueprints, and it's a living blueprint system. So you can start to identify, whoa, Where did that thought come from? Because I would never think that. I'm a positive person. You've got to be kidding me. I never think a negative thought. Let's step back and listen to that, what seems like an innocuous statement to yourself. In that phraseology, there's three things going on. One, the thought itself. What part of you is suggesting that? Often it's our subconscious going, hey, wake up. We need to look at this. Then there's this part, this other persona that says, whoa, hey, we don't do that. We'll call that the extreme optimist in this particular one, or the entertaining herald. Then you have the third one that says, we don't ever think a negative thought. We need to move that persona away. There's three conversations going on in one sentence. And how often do we walk around having these quote unquote deep, connective communications? You and I are so connected. I feel like I've known you since eternity. You do from a certain point of view, from the connected point of view. However, are you really listening to what that person is saying? And moreover, are you listening to what you say to yourself? Most often we don't. We just dismiss them because we go to books like the great book by Norman Vincent Peale in the 1950s, if my memory serves, called Learned Optimism. Listen to the two words in combination, learned optimism. That's because the conscious mind in and of itself is designed to be a defense mechanism. Imagine walking around all day, especially in this era. In the era I grew up, it was you had an attention span of 6 seconds. It might be 2 in today's world in reality. We were bombarded back then with about 2,000 advertisements a day. It's closer to 10 a day now, 10,000. If you don't have some sort of filter system, imagine all of the things you would be doing almost automatically and somewhat autonomically because you're just responding. And remember that about 95% of your daily activity, you have nothing to do with. It's your subconscious running the whole show. But yet we have the audacity to impose it. I'm in total control of my body. I'm in control of myself. Okay, show me there, tough guy. I want you to hold your breath for 5 minutes. Just do it. Now, there's some people that have trained themselves to do that. It's very rare. I want you to tell me every moment where your food is being digested, how your metabolism adjusts, your parasympathetic, your sympathetic system, your respiratory system. When you don't get involved in it, it mysteriously continues to breathe on its own. So there's another part of us that starts to get to realize that, well, wait a minute, how involved am I really in being just present? And we're so scared to be present because our brain is constantly seeking to distract us from this inevitable truth. We are going to run out of time. The question is, are you willing to look and face the parts of you that are absolutely terrified to live your life out loud? Now, I'm not talking about living your life in chaos or going out and making a statement because you need to, unless that's your choice. I'm talking about living your life out loud on your truest, deepest desires. Meaning, I want to go climb Everest. Then why are you sitting here talking to me? I want to go out and explore the world. Then what are you waiting for? I've got all these responsibilities. And we constantly list, and every persona that we have is set up as a mechanism to somehow create an imposition or an imposter position, of how we present ourselves, not just to ourselves, but to the world. Because deep down inside in places we still don't want to talk about, we're still seeking validation. We're still seeking acceptance. We're still seeking, I don't want to be separate, yet I need to stand out. What a dichotomous statement to say, I don't want to be separate, but I don't want to stand. Well, how does that work exactly? And so you end up in these infinite loops, and next thing you know, you wake up and you're 75 and you're like, dang, I wish I coulda, shoulda, woulda. Regret is unfortunately an undoable thing. So when we start to look at these concepts, we ask ourselves, why aren't we inviting our younger generations truly? Why aren't they diving into the persona self? Why aren't they diving into looking? But if it comes at so clinical and sterile, ergo the past, I got bored too. If you ever read like Personality Theory, it's a book about this thick and it's like watching chalk dry twice. And I'm like, come on, guys, you're killing me. We learn when we're engaged. We learn and absorb literally into our DNA. We change instantly on a dime. In fact, often it has very little to do with your conscious awareness. It has to do with how we shape our processing at a subconscious and ultimately a traumatic or dramatic level with our emotional structuring. And we start to look at those and we go, wait a minute. Transition doesn't have to be hard or, this deeply, oh my God, I've got to go through 14 years of therapy. 14 years, that's a codependent relationship, kids. I hate to break it to you because that means you're having another relationship. Let's own that. Therapy was designed to be a short-term interventional state so that you could get into the next part of your life, whatever that is. So when we start to look at these concepts, we go, wait a minute. We're the ones that are imposing all these things on ourselves. We know that we're doing it, and we convince ourselves every day of things we know we're not wholly true. We're the best hypnotists on the planet, yet we have no idea how to control that, which makes us a kid with the sword, and we wonder why often we can't seem to manifest the life that we really want.
So let's unpack that because there are so many things that you mentioned, but the two that come to mind are focus and energy. So you
Mhm.
have entrepreneurs,
Sure.
and I'm going to even start with solopreneurs. You are
Sure.
the marketing person, you're the CFO, the CRO. How do you, as an entrepreneur or a solopreneur, maintain energy and focus if you know that you have a finite period of time on this planet and you are not doing the things that you would like to do?
Great question. First of all, do you know which part of you is doing it? Because there's a part of you saying, I can't keep focused. I'm distraction. No, I'm ADHD. And I'm not saying that those aren't bona fide diagnosis. I'm not in any space carrying a diagnosis of anyone. I'm not saying it's real. If you're going to go technically, I was technically diagnosed with ADHD when I was a young kid back in the early 70s. And my mom said, pound sand. He's going to learn to use it and integrate it. And thank God she did because it taught me how to have circular thinking. So I have a thought process that I use that allows me to have 4 or 5 different things. And I'm checking in this circular motion every single time as opposed to wanting a distraction. So we learn that these things that we label as detracting are actually really, and I hate to use this term, but it makes the sense, superpowers. So first of all, start asking yourself, where are you losing focus? Which usually begets lack of interest. It's an obligatory or obligation thing that you're doing. I've got to get this done. Do you? Do you? There's no one forcing you to do anything. No one. You are a sovereign being on this planet. Right? And again, we're talking about entrepreneurs. We can get into all the other things, the horrible things that may go on in the world. Yes, those situations may be different. But as an entrepreneur, you chose it. You chose exactly it. You chose to be the CEO and the chief bottle washer. Why? Because the adventure of it sounded more exciting than sitting in somebody else's office, building somebody else's dream, doing the same thing for the next 20 years or however long your model was. So that's the first thing. So own your sense of adventure. That's actually the nomad persona. Most people have gotten thinking that digital nomad is what we've seen in this generation. And it is, but the nomad, it's thematic, its entire thematic is adventure, is the exploration of this beautiful thing we call Earth. It's the biggest theme park in the known universe. There isn't anything you can't experience. But our sense of adventure gets squashed, it gets quelled, it gets subdued, compressed, suppressed, and we do it to ourselves in the essence to become an adult. I don't even know what an adult is. I've never met one. I met a lot of imposters who play like they're adults because guess what? If you've ever been with someone who's actually taken the great journey as they transition, they're not adults. They're kids. They start to remember the kids and the joy and the curiosity and the beauty and the gorgeousness of this experience that they call life. So when we start to play this role, imposter, I'm an adult. Chronologically, I guess you could call yourself an adult, but why in the name of your great architect would you ever want to be one? Why would you ever want to let go of that thematic of curiosity? Why would you let go of the sense of adventure? The gladiator in you has the ambition to go experience things. The herald in you says, hey, let's go have a great story. Let's craft it exactly so that it's a story for the ages, one that can be told over and again in the halls of greatness around the world. And the nomad says, hey, let's go explore the adventure because guess what? We learn in our uncomfortability. And we all know that we do, but we choose to stay in the comfort zone of doing the same shtick every single day and then wonder why we can't get our business off the ground. It's because we've taken the very thing that we're passionate about and we squash it into the idea of gotta grind, gotta be an adult, gotta pay the bills, I gotta get my clients, I gotta be a high ticket closer, I gotta market, I got my engagement. And those things have value, don't get me wrong. But when they consume you, I guarantee you're distracting yourself from a deeper truth that you have not looked at yet. And it doesn't make you a bad person. It makes someone in your world, in your experience, in your journey, gave you a soundbite that you took and made it a belief system. It's not any more complex than that. You can make it more complex to make it sound really cool and adult at cocktail parties. Or, hey, guess what, guys? I fooled myself into believing I was an adult. Why the heck did I do that? And when I challenge people on it, and not from a contrarian point of view of, hey, who said you had to be an adult? And why would you want to be one? Being an adult sucks, right? Here's why. You have all this responsibility. You got to do this and you got to do that and that. And we start pounding that message, and even more so in today's world, into our younger generation when they're in single digit chronological aging. You've got to get prepared for the world. You've got to know AI. You've got to be a computer programmer. Dad, I'm 5. I'm still trying to figure out where the toilet is. Can we just work on that for a minute? And we know that intuitively, but we habitually pound it right back into the kids because that's what we haven't done on our own journey. So we can start identifying the personas and we understand how they talk to us and how we talk to ourselves. The best way to imagine it is imagine a diamond. A diamond is this whole experience. And when you get it shaped, it has many facets, many angles, many cuts, many different parts to it, but it's still a whole diamond. But no matter where you shine a light through it, it refracts slightly differently. Now, we don't go to a diamond and go, you know what? You're psychotic. You've got all these angles, Travis. You're shining lights all the different places. Oh my God, you need therapy. You're messed up, bro. You need a coach. Knock it off. You are a dynamic, incredibly gorgeous creature that has forgotten, in the great words of Alan Watts, that you are, which further validates that we are imposing self-hypnosis like a kid with the sword. We know that we're doing it, but we don't know how we're doing it. We're just doing it because we absorbed it through a technique called osmotic hypnosis or osmosis hypnosis. We learn from around us. We watch others who are hypnotizing themselves into believing dad's really upset and he's off. He's had a tough day at the office. Mom's in the kitchen. And again, I'm genderizing and stereotyping because this goes back 70 years. This is where my generation came in. And this is the roles that we're supposed to play. Says who? And then when we have people like Amelia Earhart who say, I'm going to break all the rules. And people go, oh, she was such a maverick. No, she wasn't. She was living on point. That's what makes them so legendary, is because we're not living on point. And when someone says, hey, I can break the 4-minute mile. No, you can't. It's never been done before in history. That's the point. That's absolutely the point. Isn't that a quest worth taking? And yet, all of us have that sense of adventure, because here's the proof. All of you ask yourself this question. Does anybody need to teach you how to have fun? The answer is undoubtedly no. It came with the frickin' spacesuit, baby. When you got on this planet, you knew exactly what fun was. You knew exactly what curiosity was. You hypnotized yourself to compress that you're only allowed to have fun on the weekends, on Friday night or Saturday afternoon. And it's got to look like this, because you got to have a drink, or you've got to go out to a show, and you've got to go out to dinner. Hey, how about this? How about go climb a mountain? And I don't mean a hike. Go climb a bloody mountain. I know I did. It changed my life, and I'm not a mountain climber. I don't know a dang thing until I climb it. And I won't tell you that I still know anything about climbing a mountain, but I will tell you what I do know is it absolutely transformed my life, because it forced me to be with me for 7 days, not talking, just trying to breathe. Now, how often have we been told, hey, you guys need to meditate. You got to journal. You've got to learn to sit in stillness. You got to focus on your breathing. Yeah, it takes practice. You know why? Because our breathing, we hand it off to our subconscious. It's autonomic. We don't really think about it. In fact, 99% of the time, we don't even realize we're breathing. We just take it for bloody granted until your last couple of breaths come along, and then you are uber present. Unfortunately, at that time, your time is running out. So we constantly do these things to ourselves because we don't know how to classify and identify. And I'm not talking label. Just to understand the essence and how to move through our shadow and our oracle and reintegrate them like that diamond, because they all matter. Often our shadow has been really categorized as evil. The shadow is evil. It lurks in the dark. It's looking to find you. It's going to mess up your brain. Your shadow is your teacher. It's trying to remind you, these are the things that you forgot. These are the things you chose not to look at. We all look away. There's a great quote from the movie King Arthur. We all look away. The difference is a king or queen looks back and they face it. Face it doesn't mean you have to be bravado, doesn't mean you have to be full of courage. In fact, most often not, you're going to be scared and shaking like a little chihuahua. Why? Because it is the part of you who have sought to hypnotize yourself to forget for so long. And you've done a great job of it with all of this nonsense and drama that you know that you really aren't really that interested in anyways, which is why we say things like, man, people are so dramatic and I'm so done with the drama. Are you talking about them or are you talking about you? Those are questions we start to ask ourselves. But instead of doing in this hardcore, deep, got to dive, and I've got to blame my mom and dad, and I got to blame religion, and I got to blame politics, and I got to blame my neighbor. Stop blaming anyone and look inside and see where the lack of integration of self is what is really precluding you from remembering. Remember, this entire journey is a remembering. Going back to pre-life and post-life. And again, I'm not advocating for any religion. I've studied them all. I don't advocate for any of them. I think they all have merit, and I think they also have holes, just like any other philosophy, because the truth of knowing can only be known by you. It is your journey and yours alone. Not from aloneness, but from a sovereignness. Everyone says they want to be the king and queen of your own life. Okay, then be it. Be it is a walk. Every king and queen in history has learned to walk into the throne of their own life, of their own kingdom, of their own decision-making process, because we have been so taught to challenge ourselves, to forget ourselves, to doubt ourselves, to say, I'm not good enough. According to who? Who said you're not good enough? What voice in your head said you're not good enough? Identify that persona, understand what it's seeking to teach you, reintegrate it back in, and reclaim who you are. Isn't that a journey worth taking? That's a journey of a lifetime. I'm in. Who wants to go with me? And I don't mean follow Travis Fox. Please don't misinterpret that comment. Don't follow me. I'm just as messed up as you are. The difference is I just know I am. And I'm willing to look at it from the perspective of taking 30 years of my life and dedicating to the dual path dynamic system, which I helped invent, if I may be so bold to say such a thing, standing on the shoulders of great men and women before me, going back since the dawn of humanity. But also putting in a system that's modern day that we can actually go, oh, man, that actually makes sense. Now we can communicate and go, Scherrie, here's the deal. Today, I feel like I'm being a herald. I'm really bringing this big message. It's big. It's over the top. My entertainer's jumping in a little bit. My fabler's jumping in a little bit. My ambition says, man, I really want this message out there. My nomad says, what a cool adventure that she's giving me the opportunity to be on her show. All of these things are happening simultaneously. Awareness is the key. All it is to be aware of it. That's the first step. Just be aware of it. To be aware of it doesn't mean you have to do something. It just means notice it. Oh, yeah. Hey, I'm doing that. Great. Now this big authenticity, and I need to be transparent. It's a big effort, by the way, and you get to wear a badge of honor. Hey, Scherrie, I'm being authentic today. I get my Girl Scout and Boy Scout badge. Yay. Stop looking for validation by telling people you're authentic, because if you're telling me you're authentic, I know that you're not. That's the first place I go. I go, oh, okay, great. So we're both full of crap. Now we're back to imposter syndrome again. And it makes it much more fun to engage because guess what? We are all running around going, please don't find out that I'm scared to death, that I am insecure, that I have no idea what I'm doing. I've learned it just like you did. In fact, half the time I'm learning as we go. And in the era that we live in right now, AI is moving so fast and so quickly, and it learns at an exponential rate and does not sleep and does not need food. It's not neurotic. It doesn't have dynamic relationships to deal with. It just continues to learn at an exponential rate. It could be somewhat terrifying. Ergo, James Cameron's movie from 1984, The Terminator. Skynet is becoming real, and we're the ones making it happen. And we're marching right towards it with zero concern of what the outcome is. Isn't that really curiosity of a child?
As we become more aware that we're
Mm,
in these places, I mean,
mm,
you've worked with people across different industries,
yeah.
professions. What are some of the habits that you see successful entrepreneurs applying to kind of get past some of these speed bumps and to be more successful in their businesses while putting these things in context?
Great question. And if I may repeat it, the key word there is getting past. How does one get past themselves? You tell me. I haven't figured it out. If anybody else knows, please write into the show and let us know because I haven't
In
figured
the
it out.
comments, put them in the comments.
Right, but exactly. Put it in the comments because when someone says you get over it, what the hell do you mean you get over it? What that means is there's a part of you that has reluctantly accepted it, but you haven't really integrated it yet. You accepted it. And acceptance doesn't mean that you agree with it or that, oh, I am all kumbaya and everything is great. And thank you for the great Krishna to make me. No, that's not what it means. What it means is you've reluctantly accepted it and there's still a part of your persona that's on guard watching the other one with a slight resentment that it even occurred in the first place. Because there's a part of you that has not owned. And this is the great journey. Everything that has occurred at the deepest levels of who you are, not who you think you are, who you are was architected by you. Now, that's a real, sometimes hard pill to swallow, especially when you've been through traumatic events. I have too. I've gone through molestation. I've gone through abandonment. I'm adopted. The list goes on. Blah, blah, blah. Great. And those can be victim statements or they could just be evidence of this is a journey I've gone through. And when you look at that space, it's going, okay, at every given moment, and here's one that it will really put it in context for everybody. If you've ever known someone who's had an extramarital or extra relationship affair, or you've been a part of it, I know I have, and I've had it done to me as well. I've been on both sides of that equation. There are a billion moments that happen from the moment you meet that person to the moment you physically or sexually engage with them that you are making micro decisions all along the way. And to simply say something like, Scherrie, I just don't know what happened. Next thing I know, it just happened. Oh, nonsense. But you're going to have the guts to say that you're an adult? That's hysterical. I go, really? You're an adult? But all those billions of decisions just automatically went. So what you're really telling me is you put yourself in a hypnotic state of absolute passionistic desire and conquering capabilities, breaking the rules, which is part of the havoc bringer, to destroy your own life because you weren't willing to look at what you didn't want anymore and what you really want and own it because the pain of owning that is difficult. Okay. Is it pain of owning it after the fact any less difficult? Just curious. But the pleasure of it outweighs often the immediate post pain. Because the whole point of that experience is if you really are in a committed relationship and you really are truly exploring each other, you don't have time to screw around. Think about it. I have 102 personas. You have 102 personas. The combinations of that are ad infinitum. If that doesn't get you sexually excited and keep you psychologically interested, I would suggest to you that you have made a choice that is diminishing you and your partner. So let's look
Well,
at
and
that.
you know what? I've heard people talk about unconscious decisions. I think that's a myth. I don't think there
It is.
are any unconscious decisions.
Nope.
Everything you do and every decision you make in life is a deliberate decision.
Hoorah, Master Chief. Keep preaching. Your show. I agree. And if we're going to be adults, that is the most adult statement you and I have said since we've been on this entire interview. Yeah. Now, people say, I did it. I was unconscious. No, you went limbic. You chose to put yourself into a hypnotic trance, something I know a little bit about, I might say. And by the way, then acted it out. How do I know? After hypnotizing over 1 million people in my career, I've watched people immediately drop right into a state. Boom, with their eyes open. The illusion is that your eyes have to be closed or look deep into my eyes or look at my hypnoidal dial or look at my watch. Oh, that's nonsense, man. That goes back to the 1920s and the Svengali effect. Look deep into my eyes. I'm the vampire. You young, innocent woman, I'm going to take you over and control you. If that were true, we wouldn't need relationship coaches. You'd all be fired. You wouldn't have a place in this world because everybody knows how to manipulate a relationship. So let's get into some fun with this. Guys, the exploration of self with your partner. Whatever your partner is, I don't care. Whatever you choose to experience that journey is your journey. But to choose to explore that is truly the adventure of a lifetime and what relationship means. We are relating to each other. It doesn't mean you're always, well, doggone it, Scherrie, we're just having such a peaceful thing. It's so great in an experience. That's isolationism because you both have shadows. You both have trauma. You both have the beautiful oracle part of you. You both have the parts of you that neither of you have ever even looked at or shown anyone else up to, including yourself. Why not? The greatest journey you can take in a relationship is the exploration of self and their exploration of self and the exploration of the unity. That's 3 things going on at once. And if you can tell me you can focus on more than that simultaneously, I will tell you you're full of crap. It's not possible. You're not being present. The whole art of making love is being 100% present and connected at the spiritual level, however you define that. And that moment of connectivity, there is no other place to be unless you were never there in the first place, which lets us know that there's some decision processing, your words exactly, that you're aware of and you're choosing to ignore. So that makes you a great hypnotist. The question is, if you're such a great hypnotist, how come you're stuck in the first place? Hypnotize yourself to have more self-confidence. Which, by the way, more self-confidence. My favorite one, by the way. For those of you out there who say, I'm going to help you get more self-confidence. More than what? What is your litmus test of measure? How do you measure more than what? You have all the self-confidence you've ever needed, wanted, desired, or could possibly fathom. It's beyond measurement. But you have chosen to create an encapsulated state to say, I'm depressed. Okay. Jim Carrey has a great quote from one of his coaches that I would offer you in depression, right? Depressed means deep rest because you've been so busy being this persona that you're not really being, that your body is exhausted from the bullshit and nonsense of faking it. Because we're all imposters running around acting like I've made it. I'm successful. I have fame. I have material success. Great. I've had all those too. And guess what? I was still a knucklehead. I'm still a knucklehead now. Why? Because I haven't finished this journey we call life of self-exploration. And again, go back to that question. Ask yourself every day. I double dog dare you. I don't know if that's possible, but a double dog dare, maybe triple dog dare you, whatever. One dog dare you. Dare yourself. Not from a challenge or conflict point of view, but challenge yourself from the perspective of what happens if I were to go all day long for 30 days, just asking myself, if I had 30 days left to live, would I be doing this right now? Because the truth is right now is the only moment you can truly have any choice awareness, to your point, in. Everything else is a mental masturbation of what future possibilities or a regurgitation of a past experience you wish would be different. Okay, you're still wasting time. The conscious mind doesn't know how to be present. Therefore, when you become present, you drop into a space where you are completely aware of everything. Hypnotic state looks very parallel to it, but presence has another aspect to it. That aspect is the spiritual aspect of you, the essence of you. That which is really real from within that survives this mortal coil is present and openly presenting itself. I say it as a personification for the metaphor, but the real you per se, as opposed to one of the personas. The real thing is, one of my favorite ones, and I ask people all the time, I'm like, so what's your favorite persona? You would say, Scherrie, what's your favorite persona?
Business owner.
Okay. Business.
You just told me I had 120. I'm tickling through the list.
And that's we're back to awareness again. I'm not even aware of what my personas are. They just run around. I have these thoughts. I don't know where they come from. That's why I can't meditate. My mind is just too active. No, there's just a lot of things going on that you've been ignoring. That's all. There's nothing more. There's judgment in it. Just you haven't practiced it. You haven't focused, using your language, if I may, your awareness on what's happening internally. Yet you've been told by every self-help guru out there, heck, even me for that matter, all throughout history, everything on a YouTube channel you can find, you've got to sit still and be present. It is the essence of... Okay, great. That's a really nice way of saying it. How about we just make it fun? How about just sit still and notice? Ask yourself curious questions. How come these two trees look identical, yet they grow completely different? What makes them grow? It's the seed. Yeah, I understand the science of it, but think about the essence of it. What is the intelligence that tells that tree to grow when the seasons are? It's a knowing, K-N-O-W, not N-O, K-N-O-W. It's a knowing, and you know within yourself your truth. You always do. It cracks me up when people say, I finally came to my authentic truth. Okay, finally came means that you have been avoiding it for how long? Because the truth is always there. It doesn't set you free. What sets you free is all the other stuff that you put on it to ignore said truth. That's it. The truth is always the truth. And how do you know? Because it's a continuous, palatable, powerful resonance within you. It is alignment. It is the chakras all flowing. It is the Kundalini movement. It is the mind and body connection. Pick whichever one works for you. It doesn't matter to me, but the reality check is deep down inside, you know it. And you know how you know that? Because when you meet somebody and you're attracted to them, boom, it's nanoseconds. Boop. Just like that. I don't have to go, well, Scherrie, I really was thinking about this. She's attractive and maybe she's a little taller or shorter than I would like. It doesn't really work that way. The first is attraction is instinctual. It's a knowing. Therefore, the knowing from within creates the journey so that you know what's going on within and connecting with it. And so when I say what's your favorite persona, most people will start with this one. And all of you listening, watch the response in your own self. I say, hey, what is your favorite persona? What's the favorite mask you wear? You said business owner, which by the way is not a persona, it's a doing, but we'll get into that later. It's usually the gladiator you're referring to, but we'll call it business owner, right? I'm an entrepreneur. I didn't ask you what you did. I asked you, what is your persona? So the fact that we don't know our persona, immediately we put one on of, I know what you're talking about. No, you don't. I know you don't. Why? Because we don't teach it to people. That has nothing to do with you. That has to do with control mechanisms at a deeper level. It has to do with the exploration of self. But the most popular answer is, how dare you ask me that, Travis? I don't wear persona. Oh, there's your first one right there.
Okay. And I may need to invite you back to the podcast.
Thank you. Hey, this is a great conversation.
No, this is so good. And I love the fact that it's a conversation because there are so many things as business owners we do not address. We may be we may be the breadwinner. So we're worried about cash flow. We're worried about making sure that our employees have what they need. And so we're showing up as all these different people.
Scherrie, can we stop there? That's a killer point, especially for entrepreneurs. And I've been one for 35 years. I've never worked for anybody else. I just suck at it. Why? Because I have too much of a sense of adventure, period. Win, lose, or draw, doesn't matter to me because I know at the end, we're all end up dead and broke. So I already know the end game, and so do you. We're all going to end up dead and broke. Ask Steve Jobs. So if you think you're all that in a bag of chips, ask one of the most richest men in history who transformed the world and we're experiencing it with these little devices that he helped co-create, at least in his part, and billions of dollars and not a day more did it buy. So we both know that the end result is the same. So what we play in the middle, well, I've got to leave something for my kids. And most of those kids don't follow your footsteps anyway. So it has nothing to do with you. Let's back up a step. You said, as a business owner, right? There's so many things that I ignore, I don't do, and pay attention. Okay, great. Ask yourself, is it really a business owner you're interested in, or did you get into business because it provides something else? What is that else? Because people, one of the most popular ones, I know you know this on the show, I guarantee you do. What's my purpose? My favorite question. What do you mean, what's your purpose? Breathing is your purpose. That's your purpose. How you apply that breath, that's interesting. That's curious. People go, well, what do you mean? I'm like, do you ever gone to start my New Year's resolution to go work out? Why do people fail on New Year's resolutions? And we all know it. It's become a travesty of a joke now. It's New Year's resolution time, Jack. Everybody's going to start their weight loss program. And 3 weeks from now, we know they're all going to quit. See you next week on the show. And we make a joke of it. We actually insult ourselves and our own intelligence, which again is a fun little joke. But we actually pre-program ourselves from that space. My question to you is, did you become an entrepreneur because it sounded cool? Or did you do it because it's rebellious? Because the anarchist in you has to have a cause, a motivational structure? Is it because you just got so pissed off that you just got tired of being told what to do because you didn't want to be in a control mech anymore and you wanted to rebel? None of those are wrong. The question is, what's driving you? Do you even know what your deep ambition is? And that's when I work with our clients. I'm like, guys, what makes it fun? And I'll even show you. We made this so much fun because people go, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, if you did know, let's play this game. What if I made it something like a deck of cards like this? And I said, hey, tell you what, I'm going to introduce you to a part of you that you've never heard. How about like these? And then on the back, it tells you exactly what you're going through. So now I have a mirror reflection. I understand, oh, this is one of my core personas. This is where it's at. This is how it tends to talk. This is what it means. This is the path from which I can choose using your language, and I agree with you 100%, to navigate my adventure. Because if you are truly a sovereign being, and you are the architect of your journey, conscious or unconscious. I'll let that one float for the rest of the listeners. Scherrie, I happen to be with you. It's, you know damn what you're doing. The question is, what justification are you going to use for said decision or lack of said decision, quote unquote? Oh, it just happened. No, it didn't. It never just happened.
It did not.
It didn't. But that's a really cool BS excuse and a way when people go, Travis, help me find and reclaim my power. Stop giving it away. You give it away, then the vampire personas that are out there, and believe me, they're out there, they'll suck that energy right up because you chose it. So shut up and quit whining. Laugh at yourself at the absurdity of the things that we do and laugh almost from a point of view of literally going, wow, that was hilarious. And when you start looking at the cards, and mind you, for your 102 to your point, they're all here. It makes it very simple for us to go, oh, crap, now I'm having a conversation. I'm going, oh, you know what? Here's the deal. The sage in me, one of my favorite ones, right? Sage comes off the Wiz Mage lineage and the archetype. And so when you look at the sage comes in and says, hey, you know what? Our job is to combine the intuition and the intellect. That is the sage's entire job, is the blending of the two, of being connected to source, however you call that, and taking the intellect of your prefrontal cortex, commonly called your brain, and put the two together so that you can continue to make choices of the whole part of you. That's the sage's entire persona's role. On the other side of that, on the path of whispers, is the sorcerer. Now, when people hear sorcerer, they automatically think Merlin. Merlin the magician was a sorcerer. You're right, but he's been mischaracterized by our wonderful story called The Fabler, how we tell stories like a fable. Ew, the fish was this big. By the time you caught it, it was 400 feet long. Great. But when you look at a sorcerer, look at the very core of the word, sorcerer. Source, one who is focused and connected to source. How they apply, that's different, but they're still connected, and you're never not connected to your source. My favorite one is when people say, my spirit. Do you actually listen to what the heck you just said? My spirit is a possessionary comment. My, meaning something part of you owns your spirit. Who exactly is that? Because the part that's saying my spirit is the part that's going to be in the dirt. And here's a real fun way to laugh at yourself. And it's going to be a challenge for many of you because your egos are still in place, and mine too, but have fun with it. If you've ever watched the Egyptians or known about the Egyptians, you can't watch them, but if you ever watched the Egyptians and studied history about how they did embalming, right? We believe that they took the hot poker up there, swirled your brain out. First thing they pulled out, they pulled all your vital organs and put them in jars so that the pharaoh would journey into the next life and have those those mechanisms ready for them. But if you notice, the brain wasn't that important to them. It wasn't. They didn't put it in a jar. They put other vital organs like heart, etc. So why? Because the mind comes from dirt. If you won't believe me, go find a corpse after that person has left its body. It goes back to dirt. And if I may quote the Christian version, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Okay, therefore, to rely exclusively on your intelligence, which you said so eloquently, we all learned it from somebody else, right? We're still learning. Then that makes you dumb as dirt because that's what you're relying on. That's what the role of the sage is, to go, yeah, we're taking some of that information, that intellect, but we're also combining it with our intuition. And how often do we sense something that we can't necessarily articulate in words? We ignore it. Dang, I felt it. I knew I should have turned right at that stop sign. God. What do you mean you knew it? Who talked you out of it? And how come? What part of you said, you don't let that intuition, it's nonsense. You can't rely on that. You got to be logical, bro. You got to be like Spock. No, you got to be like Captain Kirk and Spock. If you look at the two of them combined, they're a great force together. Again, we're in the and era. Kirk and Spock, not Kirk or Spock. So when you look at those things, we start to make it fun. So the Mystic Persona system is a living blueprint system. And we've all been conditioned really over the last, call it 75 years, what's called the quadratic model. It looks like a plus sign. It's a 4 area, and you take some sort of psychological or personistic quiz, and it says, hey, Scherrie, this is who you are. And it creates this label. And then you have the other system like DISC or bank, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. They're all built on a similar model. But the problem is it creates an imprint and says, this is who you are. These are your strengths. And you go, but I don't feel that, Scherrie. That doesn't feel like a strength to me. Yeah, that's what we're going to work on, Travis. We're going to develop your strength. We're going to play to your weaknesses and make sure that we cover them up. Why the hell would you want to do that? Bring them in. Bring them all in. They have merit. Again, the only creature on the known universe that can deny itself is a divine one. Therefore, all of you are divine. End of discussion. Because otherwise, then you must believe in nothing. Then that's really going to get really into another, and we definitely have to do another show if we're going to do that conversation. That's a whole nother show. But we start to make it fun and go, and I don't mean fun as in light, as in, oh my God, everything's just great. I'm just laughing at everything. Oh, I'm the trickster. No, really starting to go, that's hilarious. Look at the self-imposed masochistic stuff that we do to ourselves every day. I guarantee you, every one of us listening right now is thinking all kinds of thoughts. Oh, that guy, he's nuts. Okay, compared to what? Oh, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. You're right. Neither do you. Great, so we're both full of crap. Now we're both imposters. Can we laugh at that? He's just being sensational. Was it better than being boring? Let's make this fun because kids, you already know how to have fun. There is not a single person on this planet that needs to teach you how to have fun. What you need to recall, in my humble opinion, is to remember that's who you are. Everything is fun, even being an entrepreneur. We forget we started this journey because it was exciting. Then we get into something real and we shift our thematic or our theme of, oh, now I've got to get my KPI. I've got to get my data. I've got to make sure my engagement, what my ROAS is. I got to make sure my lander's up. I got to constantly change my offer. I've got to have a high ticket. And I'm like, my God, you need a coach for your coaching. And I spend most of my clients are coaches, teachers, trainers, because I'm like, I'm not asking you to stop coaching. I'm asking you to enhance it because the average life of a coach is 36 months, period. Do you know why? Because they run out of themselves, because they haven't explored the rest of their personas. They haven't looked internally because they're so busy trying to have the answers for everybody else, which, by the way, is what lets you know that you're an imposter because nobody has all the answers for anybody else and barely yourself. So let's cut the crap. Let's have some fun with this, kids. But to enhance and say, you know what? I'm exploring this part of the shadows. I'm exploring why my havoc bringer comes, where my time wraith comes in, where my mystic rogue comes in. And yes, each one is distinct and they have a certain value system, a belief system. And often the reintegration of that opens up doors you could not even comprehend. And I don't mean just in the shadow realm. I'm talking in the oracle realm. Many times people don't even want to go to the oracle realm. They will do something like this. And let's put this in extremism. Scherrie, I just want to focus on the light. I want to be an enlightened being. And yes, I am mocking. That is my mocking persona right there because I used to do it too. So this is the mocker. The mocker says, I just want to be light. I just want to focus on that. Great. You ever heard of being blinded by the light? You can be blinded by the light as much as you can be lost in the damn dark. So don't sit there and tell me that just being light is the answer to all things. Otherwise, the Taoist, which is really the grandfather of all major philosophies, and going all the way back, is the integration of both. It is the and era, and then we came along and we niched this down in an effort to control and to have some sense of we are absolutely in control of this entire journey, and you are to a certain extent, but you're not in control of the universe. Calm down. At least not right now. Maybe you are in the afterlife, but right now you're not. You're here. You're at a finite experience commonly called humanity, and we have niched this down. And even more so now with the AI and internet, where everybody's in their own. I'm an expert in this topic. I'm an expert in underwater basket weaving in Guam in December on every other odd year. But I'm the number one, according to Amazon. I'm the one. Oh, shut up. Stop it. That is a need for validation that goes beyond literally just getting a good comment. It is, hey, I need to be special. You already are. You just forgot. You forgot, and you're too scared to look in the mirror and go, it's enough. It's enough. It's enough. Why? Because there's a part of us that has the need for more. And my question to you is, more than what? Define it. Double dog. I need more money because I need more clients because I need more landers because. And if you don't know, then you have to ask yourself, who's running the show? Because as you said so eloquently, Scherrie, we're all aware of what we're doing. But the question is, are you choosing not to be aware after the fact and then denying it and then putting yourself in a neurotic state? And by the way, I do it too. I am not immune from this. I'm not one of those guys that walks around and says, Scherrie, I'm Dr. Fox. I've got all these letters after my name. It sounds really important. And by the way, for those of you out there, my one original joke in this entire life is PhD stands for please her daily. That's it. That's my entire original joke. Every other joke is a bastardized version of somebody else's intelligence and theirs as well. And that's what makes it fun. That is the collectiveness of it. But now we can have a conversation where we're talking to each other and going, hey, my satirist right now is mocking us. What does a satirist do? On the back of the satirist, I'm like, if they find out the truth, they won't like you. And that's why the satirist uses comedy with creative wisdom to distract. It's also a disruptive persona. Now, not disruptive in negativity, disruptive of what if? How come? The satirist does it with comedy as opposed to blunt force, right? The blunt force would be more like the Fantor, walks in and says, bang, we're just going to do this. And again, we've been so conditioned to believe that this quadratic model is who you are, as opposed to you're a fluid system. That's what makes MysticPersonas so fun. It's fluid. It's a living blueprint. It constantly moves. You will never find the end outcome. If you're seeking I've got the answer, I'll make it easy for you. Death is the only answer, because that's the only way you're going to answer all the questions that you can't answer in this life. Here in the persona system, at least you can integrate them, explore it, enjoy it, and absolutely have the most gorgeous experience you can have in this life, whatever that means for you. But get to it, man. Get to it.
So you mentioned that most coaches have a career span as a coach of about 36 months.
Yeah.
Is it possible that if you have not explored all these personas, is the idea of being a generalist at anything versus a specialist even an option?
Well, let me ask you a question. When someone says they're a specialist as a coach, what do you specialize in? Well, I specialize in relationships. That's a general comment. Relationships are general. It's a dichotomous. Again, we're back to and. It's not, I do this, not that. Yeah, you do. You're a generalist and you're niche. You have to be, because they intertwine. For example, to be specifically hyper-focused on dual path dynamics, which is what my life's work has been about, but that's a specific focus of architecture. But it has to also fit in humanity, not just Travis Fox's world or Travis Fox's client's world or my product world. No, I'm not. I have no clue how to solve the world's problems. No, I'm not. Suggest that I do. I have no clue how to solve the world's problems. I would never suggest that I do. But what I do have is an interesting way for you to explore yourself, the problems you have for yourself, that you have created for self. I have created for myself. Because the truth is, the greatest therapist in the room is you. It's not me. It's not any other coach you go to. They may give you perspective and whatnot, and that's fair, and I agree with that. But let's ask some powerful questions. And I don't mean, what do you think, are you going to see yourself in 3 to 5 years, Scherrie? I have no idea where I'd see myself in 3 to 5 years. If that was true, go back to when you were 15. You wanted to be something. And who are you now? And they're diabolically and not in the same universe. 99% of people never, ever live out that original dream because we replace it with an adult ideology. And we compress our curiosity, our adventure, and we put all this self-imposed nonsense that at the end of the day, and I really invite all of you, if you have the courage, please do, call up your valorous persona. Your valorous is the noble one of you that goes into the darkness but full of light and understands that, hey, I'm going to explore the unknown, but I'm going to do it with courage even though I'm scared. And go sit with someone. Go to an old timer's home or an RAL, a residential assisted living location, and sit with some of the elder folk. And if you really have the guts, sit with them and hold their hand if they'll allow you until their last moment. It will change you. It will change you because it brings into clear focus, using your language, if I may, Scherrie. It brings into clear focus the finiteness of things. It brings in the gratitude. You don't need a gratitude journal. You know where I learned gratitude? I learned gratitude from the Hadzabe tribe in Africa, in Tanzania. I lived with them for a week. I was one of the first white guys to live with this particular tribe. They were one of the oldest nomadic tribes in Africa. I didn't plan it, but I chose it. And when I got there, I lived as a nomad. I slept on the dirt. You don't get up and go, I'm going to go get my $400 billion cup of coffee and wait in line like every other person waiting for their daily dose of drugs and justify that this coffee is better than a chuck full of nuts because I can pay 7 times more for it. Nonsense. Validation. I'm one of the cool kids. Click. Okay. I slept on the dirt. We got up at 4 in the morning approximately because my watch told me so at the time. We flinted to make a fire, literally. We made our own arrows. They taught me how to make them. I had no idea how to make an arrow. They had to teach me. So then you walk 6 miles to find your first look at what you would call a hunt. And we caught a bush baby on that first one. A bush baby's a little monkey about this big. And there was 4 tribesmen that were teaching my buddy and I that got the opportunity to be with them. And we were just in awe because we're like, wait, we get to go back to our life of Kush. This isn't our life. So we're going to be really noble. Hey, we're just going to watch and observe. You guys go ahead. And they're like, hell no, you're in this. Get down here. So we're down there sitting in the fire, and they take this monkey that was alive 45 minutes ago and now isn't. It was speared by an arrow. I watched it. It was horrifying. I'm a hypocrite. I love sushi, but I sure as hell don't want to see how you cut the fish up and get it on my plate, but I'll eat it when it comes to the restaurant. I'm a hypocrite. Hi, my name is Travis Fox. All of you out there, we're all hypocrites. This lesson taught me that I got a piece of meat about this big. And I realized the circle of life in a whole new way. Oh my gosh, wow. That monkey 45 minutes ago was sitting in a tree, had no idea what was going on. Next thing, it's inside 6 of us. Holy crap. That was profound. And then we walked 6 miles back. That was your morning breakfast. And I was grateful for it because it changed everything. I cried. I was absolutely distraught about the death of that monkey. At the same time, I was in awe of the experience and the gratitude of it. And they came back, and these beautiful people just broke out and danced for no reason. They didn't have a big boom box. There wasn't an EDM club and lights and fun. And we started jamming, and it was a celebration of just being. And I cried, and I remember crying with joy. My buddy looks at me, and I'm like, holy crap. I've been to a lot of great parties in my life, incredible experiences, but I'd never been to one that made me cry out of joy. Not like that. And to sit with them for a week, there's no running toilets. You got to go down the creek. If you want a drink, walk your butt over there and go get it. You don't get it just shows up in my house because I pay my water bill. Those are luxuries that we forget about in this ideology of it's supposed to be this way. No, it's not. It became that way. And it's a beautiful gift. And it's so good to forget it and distract. After that week, when I came back and I landed in the United States, and I've traveled the world 3 times, and I grew up outside the United States for the first part of my young life. So I have a very different perspective of things. And I'm not saying I'm better than anybody. I just have a different perspective. I'm like, wow, we really live in a very blessed location on this planet, period. Even with all of its problems, we do. And coming back and watching people in a line in the airport that was as long as you can imagine to get their daily dose of this coffee experience that they could literally have at home. They could literally do it anywhere. And I'm not saying you don't go get coffee. I do too. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is watching them do it and getting frustrated because it took too long to get their cup of coffee that another human was making for them. Or they're sitting in line going, I got to get on a plane, man. I got to go. They serve coffee on the plane. Hate to break it to you. It's been that way for a long time. So we look at all these choices of self-imposed nonsense. And when we look at it, we go, why? Go to an RAL, sit with an elder folk, listen to their stories, listen. And if they have the opportunity to be with them when they take their last breath, I promise you, your life will transform itself automatically. Your gratitude will change unless you choose to put yourself back to sleep. Now, I'm not talking about what I call, and I say this respect to my fellow Christian friends, but we've ever met that person that's church happy? They're just happy all the time for no bloody reason. Oh my God, that's so great that they had a 16-car pileup, but 5 people were surviving. Like, oh hell, seriously? Come on. And they're just that space. There's nothing wrong with it, but they're staying in one persona. And that's by choice, by the way. There's nothing wrong with it. There's no judgment. But now we're aware that person has chosen to stay in that one dimension. Okay. Why? For the light of you within is infinite. It comes out in a myriad of ways. And us interacting in our personas, now we can have a conversation of, oh, man, you know what? My Harold got excited. I got in the show, Scherrie, and I just got into my passion. It was so awesome. And we talked for an hour, and I don't remember what we talked about. It was awesome. Why? Because heralding is the good news. And I don't mean the good news of a religion, the good news of truth, your own. No one can tell you your truth. No one. That is part of why I left the entire facilitated industry and said, stop. I think coaching is overused. I do think it has its place. But if we're not actually doing integrational work, what the hell's the point? If you just want a better sales tactic, hire someone. Just hire someone who loves sales. If you want a better lander, find a copywriter. Hell, AI will do it for you nowadays. You barely need it. But no one, not anyone on this planet, can take this journey for you. No one. You are a sovereign being. Go ahead, please.
Now, Dr. Travis, you know you're going to get me in trouble with all my church happy friends. That's thing number one. Thing number two.
If I'm getting you in trouble, then my first response is own it. Because every church person I've met, and believe me, I've done the shundai, check out my bow tie, should have bought a Honda. I've been there, I've done it, I've seen the cyanide and the snakes. I went and explored them all because I didn't believe my father, who is an agnostic. I didn't believe him. I'm like, what do you mean? There's no, you just died, it's over? That's insane. That makes no sense. Okay, so is this all just the Matrix? Well, it's a damn good Matrix, but somebody made it after the fact. So let's play that game. Or, hey, we're living in this fabricated illusion. Okay, but church happy all the time? Okay. So nothing in your world ever happened that caused pain or sorrow or grief or regret or trauma. Then, my God, if all of your Christian friends, and let's go, let's dance, let's play the game, heralding the good news, right? Bringing of the great truth, the heralding of the Christ coming. Okay, but Christ went through a lot of hell on earth, up to including being crucified.
So that brings me to thing number two. Thing number
Let's
two
go.
is, would you consider, okay, when I say these two words, tell me what comes to mind.
Sure.
Coping mechanism, because we talked about forgetting things and distraction. Are
Mhm.
those not coping mechanisms? And are coping mechanisms real things?
Are you asking my opinion, or are you asking me the common knowledge of macroisms?
Your opinion first, and whatever you'd like to offer after that.
Sure. Fair play. Thanks for the opportunity. Do I think coping mechanisms are real? Yep, I do. But I think they're mislabeled and often overused, right? And they say, that, oh, that's a coping mechanism. No, it's not. Coping? What do you mean you're not? Show me how you're coping. I'm dealing with it. No, you're not. You're ignoring it and acting like you're dealing with it and telling everybody that you're dealing with it. That's horseshit. And excuse my French, but let's own it, kids. Stop. It's a mechanism because if I look at it, I'm going to have to look at a part of me. Now, often, and let's ask ourselves the really powerful question off of yours. How often do we not want to look in the mirror? Why? Because when we look in the mirror, looks back. The only problem is the only person talking is us. The mirror doesn't talk. We do. It's not mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the greatest of us all? Show me all my flaws. We do that when we look in the mirror. I look in the mirror and go, I'm not good at looking enough. My eyes aren't this, and my skin tone, and I got to lose weight, and I don't have the right eye color. The list goes on. I'm losing my hair. Whatever the nonsense is that we tell ourselves. Okay, great. What part of you is judging you? How come? Is that a coping mechanism or is that an avoidance? But avoidance is a coping mechanism because it's a choice using your language. And I agree with you 100%. Every part of that coping mechanism is a setup by design and the architecture that we create to navigate through ourselves, not life, ourselves, because our life is self. Again, and comes in the equation. It's an inside and outside journey, meaning that the both worlds are happening simultaneously and concurrently, and they are working cohesively most often. However, we're really good at interrupting that pattern. And I think coping mechanisms are necessary at times when we're not ready to look at said experience, trauma, excitement, because sometimes we get overwhelmed with excitement. And we cry when we get overwhelmed with joy. So when you look at those concepts, but then when you come back and you continue to keep that mechanism in place, that's not a coping mechanism. That's avoidance of integration, in my humble opinion.
Awesome. So if you had one piece of advice to share with us on how to play big faster as they navigate these personas and all these things, these choices that they make in their business and in life, what would that advice be?
Go to MysticPersonas.com, watch the YouTube channel for free, and start learning who the hell you are, not who you think you are. Engage. Start engaging your clients in a whole new way. Ask them questions that you've never even asked yourself and watch how both of you grow. Boom, just like that. And the most powerful way you can grow your business is word of mouth. Someone going, damn, I went and hung out with Scherrie and I thought the coaches were nonsense and blah, blah, blah. I just wanted to make sure that this is wow, it changed my world. That person will go give me their number. I don't need to go to your lander. I don't need to see your Wikipedia page and go to your LinkedIn profile and I help people do blank. You help yourself and people get to watch and learn with you. How about that? Wouldn't that be a new mechanism? Let's own it because 90% of coaching is our own self-exploration. We chose it as a profession so that we could explore ourselves. So can we start with the truth? Hi, my name is Travis Fox. I'm a spiritualist. My entire experience since I was 13 years old is the integration of how do I make self-exploration fun, even when it's painful, even when it's gut-wrenching. And believe me, there's been plenty of those experiences. And the two things that influenced me were very simple. P.T. Barnum and Dr. Dennis Waitley. Those are the two things, the psychology of winning and studying P.T. Barnum. And people like, Travis, P.T. Barnum was a circus. I'm like, you're damn right he was. Because he understood the architecture of inclusion. And I don't mean inclusion like we talk about in politics. I'm talking about it took the art of the dance, the audience, the lions, the tigers, the trapeze artists, the director, all of it happening together, the crew behind the scenes to create an experience that we all mutually felt together. And it bonds us. And to say the most noble of art is to make people happy. Sure, I can tell you one concrete thing after 35 years of working with literally hundreds of thousands and millions of people at this point. I don't know how to make anybody happy. Hell, I could barely make myself happy, but I damn sure know how to ignite fun in you. And that even means making your journey through your shadows fun, because it makes it an easier way to look at it. I don't mean easier as in less than dramatic. I've had trauma too. Don't be fooled. What I'm saying is your trauma is your teacher. When you seek to ignore it, that's when it becomes your persecutor. And that's when we start doing things like, and if I say to your church friends with respect, we become church happy, because it's better than feeling like crap all the time. And I honor them for doing that, because you could turn into misery loves company. So the fact that we have the church happy people are a beautiful persona break from ourselves. And that's why we need them to play that role. But then who plays the role for them? Where do they get to take off that mask and finally go, man, I'm exhausted. You know, all the vampires out there that I'm trying to give the joy and spread the light and spread the gospel to and spread the good word and the news to them, all of a sudden they're just sucking it up, but I don't get anything back. Ask church happy people. I guarantee you that's happened to them. I've spent a lot of time studying it and working with them and going, what makes you so happy? I just see the light in everything. Okay, does that mean you see the light in the dark? Just pointing things out. And it doesn't mean that you're right or wrong or bad, and it's not designed to be anything from a contrarian point of view. It is really of, hey guys, if you're truly following Christ, and I'm not in any position to tell anybody to follow anything, I'm just saying, asking a question. Didn't Christ go through the temptation? Didn't Christ go through the passion of Christ? Didn't Christ go through persecution and rejection and non-acceptance? It wasn't the cool kids clique. There's all kinds of things. But going through them is what solidified his faith. So when we meet the church happy people, I'm always grateful for them, because it reminds me of, hey, you know what? I'm choosing to be a knucklehead right now. There's nothing wrong with you being church happy. It's me getting angry at you because you're choosing to be happy, and I'm too chicken to be that happy, because I'd rather stay in my misery. Now, at the same time, I'm going to ask that church happy person, how do you handle when things come to you that aren't necessarily pleasant? How do you handle it? I just find the positive. Okay, what about the negative? Because a battery that powers anything that we're working on, up to including the computers we're talking on, the mics we're using, has a positive and negative. It is the and of the both of the positive and negative polarities working together that creates the electrical current. The same thing with you. So how do I integrate that? And learn from their answer. Just learn. But there's no judgment in it. But people who stay in it all the time are usually the people who've had the most trauma. And why? Because they've chosen not to go back into the trauma, or they're avoiding it, using your language, as opposing coping mechanism. Okay. But you can learn from that, and then you choose your path. If you choose that, great. If not, there's other personas that you can integrate. And now what does that open up for you as a coach, teacher, trainer, a guide, an entrepreneur, solopreneur, wantrepreneur, TikToker, influencer, YouTuber, pick which one, it doesn't matter to me. Bottom line is, no matter what business you're in, no matter what you think you're doing, no matter how you think you help people, we are all in the people business, period. Learning the personas of self, learning the personas of your others and your clients and your friends and your relationships. It also helps, and one of my most powerful ones, as I do this with our own kids, is we play the persona game. As we'll put the persona games together, and you can see that we do this on the YouTube channel. It's fun. We'll just throw 3 cards out there and say, okay, where does this relate in your life? And look for it for the next 24 hours, both internally and externally, and start to see, how does it affect? How does it talk? What is it about? It will consume all of your energy, because isn't that where your energy really could be? Is about the self. And I'm not talking about being, you're getting self-centered. That's a mind thing. I'm talking about being centered in self. That's a spiritual thing. However you define your spiritual. But that's a spiritual thing. That's when people go, man, I just love being around Travis and Scherrie because I just feel good when I'm around them. That's why, because we're here. We're centered in self. Are we always? Hell no. Anybody who tells you are, full of crap. Full of crap. Because that's back to the game. We're back to the whiz-mates, the integration of intellect and intuition, right? Integration is the themology there, the theme. And once we understand our themes, Man, now it makes an exploration a whole lot more fun. Now I know why I'm doing what I'm doing. How that turns out, that's the adventure of a lifetime. It's like those books. I don't know your era, Scherrie, but in my era, back in the 80s, we had those books that you could read. And at the end of the chapter, it'd say, if you want to do this, you go to chapter 9. If you want to do that, go to chapter 4. That's life. You get to choose. There is no right or wrong. There's just the choice. And to quote the great Dr. Jeffries in a famous book in 1993 and 94, to feel the fear and do it anyway. There's no such thing as the right decision. There's just the right now decision. That's it. You don't understand the consequences. Does anyone? Does anyone? You may see 1 or 2, 3 moves, but let's be honest. These are ripples in time, ripples throughout people. There's amazing things going on, but to say that you can control it, no. But can you ride the wave and experience? Yeah, that's like riding a roller coaster. You got on the roller coaster. You knew it was going to go fast. You knew it was going to scare the crap out of you. You knew you were going to want to do it again when it was over. But you did it anyways. But while you were on the ride, you were just holding on. That's it. Have fun with it. Screaming your head off. Woo! So when we look at it, personas is, to me, and what makes it fun is because we are bringing in the subconscious. We are bringing the fantastical along with the logical and the clinical. It makes a full integrational experience, but I'm not putting myself on one label and saying I'm this or that. I am all of that. And to quote the great famous book, I am that. Fill in the blank. And then you get into fun little questions like my great friend Sifu Goff loves to say, move from I am to am I?
Well, Dr. Travis, thank you so much. This has been enlightening.
Thank you.
It's been enlightening. If there's someone who would like to take this offline and contact you about possibly working with you and finding out more about what you do, what is the best way to contact you?
Of course, I've shamelessly plugged that, so I'll do that again because we're all in this business modality called podcasting. You can go to MysticPersonas.com. Yeah, we answer all our email. Get the deck of cards. It's a whopping $24. Start your journey. The new book is out. It's in pre-order right now. I'm pleased by this. It's the first one that actually gives you the first 30-day blueprint of the Mystic Persona system and how to apply it to your life. Or go to our YouTube channel. Go to Mystic Personas on YouTube. Watch us. Become a member over there and have fun as we do weekly forecasts. We show how history of the personas have been around. And if nothing else, I answer my own email. Reach out. I don't have a bot doing it, and I don't have an executive assistant on the other side of the planet doing it for me. I still do it because I love connecting with people, because every time you come to learn from me, I get to learn from you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thanks for the great conversation. Truly enjoyed it.
And to everyone else, until next time, play big faster.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Play Big Faster podcast. Want more entrepreneurial content?
I like this.
Make sure to subscribe for future episodes.
Already subscribed.
I just clicked on it.
Don't forget to like and leave a review. Share with a friend that needs this in their life.
I think you need this more than I.
Oh, and make sure to follow Scherrie on IG at Scherrie Speaks. And remember to play big faster.